Recording. Go live.
Ashish. Namaskar. A very good morning to all of you. From the Department of Telecommunication and the Ministry of Rural Development, we are organizing the breakout session on the sub-theme of leaving no citizen behind. So, which is the road and infoway connectivity to all rural habitations. As the Honorable Prime Minister had stated in the morning, the focus of our work will be towards ensuring that there is total inclusivity in the programs that are being implemented in the rural areas. So essentially, the focus would be to ensure that every one of the schemes leave no citizen behind. I mean, every section of society, every segment of society, every geography of the rural and remote areas would need to be covered completely and exhaustively through all these programs. So Honorable Prime Minister also mentioned that there would be a time-marked implementation of all these programs, especially of the announcements that have been made in the current budget. So the breakout session today is focusing on two aspects of this of the various dimensions of development in rural areas. The first one being the road sector, and the second one would be the infoway connectivity to the citizens in rural areas. So I would be covering the first session I would be chairing the first session on the infoway connectivity, and there would be a number of speakers who have been invited from the industry and from the other stakeholder groups, and we expect them that they would be giving their thoughts on how we should enable every citizen to be connected in rural areas. We would also have a second part of this breakout session on roads, which would be moderated by my colleague, Mr. Ashish Goel, who is Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Rural Development. And that would start at 12 o'clock. So this will be a continuous session on the same link. And so I would therefore welcome all of you once again. And as I also welcome you, I would also like to state that we have an excellent set of speakers here. And they are from various aspects, various parts of the market. I think some of them run the telecom services in this country. Some of them are from the internet service providers group. There are various categories of people. Similarly, in the road sector also, we have a number of technologists and other stakeholders who are here. So we hope to hear from them on how we will be able to take forward these initiatives in the roads, rural roads and rural info connectivity sectors effectively. So with this, I would now request that a small video of the on internet connectivity in rural areas be played out, focusing on the Bharatnet project. After which, I think I will make a short presentation and thereafter kickstart the discussion process. Thank you and welcome to all of you.
Bharatnet, a middle network infrastructure, is laying the groundwork for high-speed broadband network in rural India. Connecting 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayats, 6 lakh villages, it is the world's largest broadband connectivity project.
2014 से पहले हमारे देश में 5 दर्जन पंचायतों में ऑप्टिकल फाइबर था। गत 5 वर्ष में 1.5 लाख ग्राम पंचायतों तक ऑप्टिकल फाइबर नेटवर्क पहुंच चुका है। लेकिन बदली पड़ी हुई परिस्थिति में गांव की भी डिजिटल इंडिया में भागीदारी अनिवार्य बन गई है। गांव के लोगों को भी इस प्रकार की ऑनलाइन सुविधाओं की जरूरत बढ़ गई है। इसको ध्यान में रखते हुए पहले जो हमने कार्यक्रम बनाया था, हर पंचायत तक पहले पहुंचेंगे, लेकिन आज मैं आपसे बताना चाहूंगा कि अब हमने तय किया है कि सभी 6 लाख से ज्यादा जो हमारे गांव है, उन सभी गांवों में ऑप्टिकल फाइबर नेटवर्क पहुंचाया जाएगा।
Bharatnet, a middle network infrastructure, is laying the groundwork for high-speed broadband network in rural India.
ये ग्राम सभा अमैया है। मेरा नाम जगतपाल सिंह कोठेदार। ये मशीन पहले नहीं चलती थी। जब से भारत नेट लगाया है तब से जो है वितरण में कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती है।
मेरा नाम है रामनंदनी। जब से मशीन लग गई तब से सब आसानी से मिलता है। पहले लाइन लगाना पड़ता था और तकलीफ होती थी। अब अंगूठा लगा को जल्दी मिल जाता है।
Empowering villages through information and communication. Connecting grassroots to economic prosperity. Linking rural India to the technological revolution of the cities.
मैं डिटर्जेंट पाउडर, केक और ऑयल सोप बनाता हूँ। जब से ब्रॉडबैंड आया है तब से ये प्रॉब्लम हमारी दूर हो गई है। एक तो स्पीड हमें अच्छी लगती है, मल्टी डिवाइस चल पाती है और कैमरे भी जो है वो प्रॉपर काम करते हैं। कैमरे से हम कहीं पे भी अपनी वॉच कर सकते हैं, कहीं भी फैक्ट्री वॉच कर सकते हैं, देख सकते हैं कहीं क्या प्रॉब्लम है, वो सारी चीजें कर सकते हैं।
With a ready infrastructure, telecom services like broadband, internet, mobile telephony, Wi-Fi, cable and IPTV can be easily enabled by service providers for a high-speed rural broadband network. Providing state-of-the-art technology at your doorstep. Bharatnet, an endeavor to realize the dream of digitally empowered India. Bharatnet, transforming lives, transforming India.
So, thank you all for joining in. So, I will make a short presentation on the Infoway connectivity to rural habitations just now. Next. So, as the Honorable Prime Minister had mentioned, the task of connecting rural areas is a huge task. So, the connection through optical fiber cables is under the Bharatnet project is an ongoing process. But we also have a huge mobile connectivity program running in parallel. So as part of this and as part of the technology modernization process, the Honorable Finance Minister during the budget of 2022-23 has announced a series of measures to roll out a number of services across the country, including rural areas. So the first one is regarding the 5G spectrum auctions. So we expect the 5G spectrum auctions to be held towards the middle of the year, and followed by the rollout of 5G services in a phased manner across the country. So this will enable the next wave of technology improvements and use cases that would arise because of the new features that are available under the 5G technology. The second announcement was regarding the use of Universal Services Obligation Fund for funding R&D for development of technology for rural application. So we expect that this process would help in development of technologies that would lead to affordable access, development of technologies and devices which will enable faster access to internet in rural areas. The third announcement was regarding the launch of a design-led manufacturing scheme as part of the production-linked incentive scheme already being implemented. So this would lead to domestic manufacturing of not only network equipment, but also consumer devices, including optical networking equipment for the households. So we believe that this would lead to domestic manufacturing and also lead to reduction in the cost of production and enable cheaper and more new technology enabled devices to be available across the country. It will also result in a number of jobs being created across the country, especially in manufacturing. We also have an announcement on the Bharatnet project, where the work of covering about 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayats is under progress. The Honorable Prime Minister had announced that about the rest of the villages, which are not essentially in the Gram Panchayat headquarters, would also get covered. So this process of coverage would be undertaken through a PPP process involving the private sector, and we hope that this project would see implementation in the coming years. Then we also have the implementation of a package for reviving the finances of BSNL and enabling it to invest heavily in the 4G and other capital equipment, leading to rollout of a host of new services. CDOT's R&D financing has also been raised to 500 crores as part of this budget. All these measures, we believe, will lead to development of devices, reduction in the cost of production of devices, enable cheaper and faster access to broadband across the country, especially in rural areas. Next. We also have the Bharatnet project, as I already mentioned, which is currently in the process of covering about 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayat headquarters. So the process of laying the optical fiber connectivity to 1.7 lakh Gram Panchayats has already been completed. So these fibers have been lit up and are service ready, and we look forward to utilization, regarding which I will come to a little later. But the task of covering the rest of the villages, especially, which are not part of the Gram Panchayat headquarters, would also be a very huge task. And this process we hope to undertake using the public-private partnership framework, in which we hope to involve the private sector, especially internet service providers, virtual network operators, and telecom service providers, leading to a greater proliferation of internet in rural areas. As of now, we have about nearly 1.7 lakh Gram Panchayats which are ready and to which we may connect. We also have about 53,000 Wi-Fi hotspots which are active in rural areas. We also have 54 crore rural mobile phones which are also internet ready and through which internet can be accessed. So as a combination of all this mobile and optical fiber connectivity, we hope that the information needs of the villages would be covered adequately. So therefore, we also believe, as the Honorable Prime Minister has announced, that digital inclusion is a very, very important aspect of our democratic development. The digital inclusion will lead to financial inclusion and will also lead to economic and social inclusion in a larger perspective. So we believe that the efforts to reach out telecom connectivity across the country in rural and remote areas would lead to this overall development, as has been stated. Next. The broadband facilities that are being rolled out through Bharatnet essentially consists of an architecture where the block headquarters is connected through optical fibers through to the Gram Panchayats. The optical networking equipment are installed in Gram Panchayats and can be extended to households within the Gram Panchayat. Similarly, I think from the Gram Panchayats, I think there is a need for extending the connectivity to villages. And this can be done through optical fibers or through even wireless technologies using delicensed spectrum. We also have a number of remote areas where I think laying optical fibers is a challenging task. So there, satellite connectivity through VSATs has already been taken up. And we expect that a lot of our villages, especially in hilly, mountainous and the northeast, etc., would get covered through the VSAT connectivity already being commissioned. We have, under the project, now focused on enabling the services to be rolled out with the help of all the licensees in the telecom market. Internet service providers and virtual network operators are having their own services across the country. So we have invited them to join the Bharatnet program, and nearly about 64 of them are already partners in the BBNL Associates Forum. A large number of the village level entrepreneurs are also joined the BSNL as part of the channel partners. So a combination of all this entrepreneurship, which is regional in nature, which is probably even district level in nature, and also probably even down to the village level. So therefore, we are hopeful that a combination of this entrepreneurship and the Bharatnet's infrastructure can lead to availability of internet products for the rural areas. So the BBNL Bharatnet system makes available bandwidth or dark fiber to provide fiber to home connectivity in rural areas. So the ISPs or VNOs can avail of this bandwidth connection or point-to-point connectivity and provide these services in the rural areas. This access is available on an open access basis, on a non-discriminatory basis as well. So they are also free to take bandwidth from any other telecom service provider as well. So therefore, this is a highly adaptable system, a highly open system, which people can exploit to actually deliver services to the rural areas. Next. So the as I already mentioned, I think the focus of the Bharatnet utilization is the biggest work or the task before us. So we hope to cover a whole host of rural institutions. Currently, I think about 5 categories of these rural institutions are now covered through already established connections. Now we hope to expand it to cover Krishi Vigyan Kendras, the Gram Panchayat headquarters, the rural BPOs, if there are any, schools through smart classrooms, health centers through telemedicine centers, and government offices which might be there, including agriculture extension offices or veterinary sub-centers. It could be wellness centers under the primary health center. It could also be markets, including public places such as bus stands and marketplaces and so on and so forth. It could be post offices and police stations, etc. So we would be very happy to connect any of these rural institutions through the Bharatnet project, providing broadband connectivity. We also hope that the USOF-based R&D program would lead to deployment of new technologies and would enable availability of products which are affordable by the rural masses. Next. I also would like to state that the current state of implementation, we have about 1,71,000 Gram Panchayats which are service ready. And as of now, I think 5,000 terabytes of data are being consumed on a monthly basis. We hope that this accelerates the coming months due to the more effective utilization by our partners like ISPs and VNOs. We believe that the customer segments such as infotainment, that is basically television and over-the-top entertainment programs, etc., education, online education especially, health through telemedicine, agri-marketing and extension, electronic commerce, etc., can drive the growth of data services in the rural areas. Further, I think we also believe that there is need for affordable smart devices for the customers. So the production-linked incentive schemes being implemented by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology and by the Department of Telecommunications will definitely make available mobile phones, electronic equipment like tablets, laptops, etc., at a much cheaper prices which the rural customers can afford. We also believe that this will put in place a virtuous cycle which can enable smart agriculture through the use of internet services for extension and technology-related learning activities, for the electronic national agriculture market use for trading in agriculture commodities, for the digital university and smart classrooms in schools, rural commerce for use cases for artisans and farmers, digital banking services as has been mentioned in the first session today morning, which includes Jandan Yojana, digital payments through UPI and so on and so forth, and telehealth through telemedicine services and etc. Next. So we in the Department of Telecommunication welcome all the participants here and especially the licensees to be active participants in the Bharatnet program and join us in enabling the Bharatnet to be rolled out to every nook and corner of the country, especially in the remote and hilly and mountainous areas. So internet service providers, telecom service providers, rural institutions, startups, virtual network operators, and even rural entrepreneurs who can join us as channel partners in a revenue sharing arrangement, etc., are all welcome to join Bharatnet. And we hope that all such stakeholders should reach out to Bharat Broadband Network Limited, BBNL, as well as BSNL, and other TSPs and ISPs here, and put in place a very robust and vibrant partnership that will enable effective utilization of Bharatnet. I will stop here and now request the next speaker, Mr. Gopal Vittal, who is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of Airtel, to offer his views. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for inviting me for this very important event. And a very good morning to all my colleagues and friends who are assembled here. As the secretary has mentioned, broadband is truly at the bedrock of the digital infrastructure that the country is creating, and in many ways plays centrally to the vision articulated by the Honorable Prime Minister on Digital India. In fact, let me just pull back and take you back perhaps 22 months ago to March 2020, when COVID struck us, the country, for the first time, and we went into a lockdown. Where would we have been in this country without our broadband infrastructure that all the operators, whether it is BSNL or all the private players, did provide or have built in this country? Whether it was work from home, study from home, entertainment, health, almost all of the digital, all of the economic activity in the country, which did slow down, happened on the back of this digital infrastructure. And I think it was established beyond doubt that India has been really far-reaching in the way that we have gone out to build our broadband infrastructure. I also want to thank the government for the reforms that were put in place earlier last year. And I think that has given a great relief to the industry, both in terms of financial relief, cash flow relief, but also more importantly, in terms of just ease of doing business. The myriad complexities that were there and clearances, a lot of that has been simplified dramatically. I think if you look at the state of infrastructure today in the country, wireless has almost 1.1 billion customers that are being served. Wireline, on the other hand, has only 24 million. So India has actually leapfrogged from a wired infrastructure or a wired broadband infrastructure directly to a wireless infrastructure. In fact, if you look at the broadband connectivity in India, it's about 800 million connections, of which wireline is only 24 million. So wireless, again, has been the bedrock on the basis of which all the digital infrastructure, all the digital activity and the economic activity has been happening in the country. If you look at wireless, I think even urban areas are seriously underpenetrated. I'm sorry, wired, which is broadband, physical wired broadband. Even urban areas are seriously underpenetrated, and there's a job to be done to cover even the towns. At Airtel, what I do want to underscore is that we are up to the task of really building our digital infrastructure. Today, we cover almost 794,000 villages and towns. This is about 96% of the population. We have over 230,000 towers installed, about 346,000 kilometers of optical fiber, and 50% of our customers are in rural areas. On the wired infrastructure, we have almost 16 million home passes, which are enabled to cover wired broadband to our homes. And our plan over the next few years is to actually take that up to 35 to 40 million. In fact, if I look at the investments that we've made just over 4 years, between 2017-18 up to March 2021, in 4 years' time, Airtel has invested over 100,000 crores in building out broadband infrastructure in the country. We're also committed to creating an India ecosystem. We are working with technology players, including local companies like TCS, to create our own India 5G stack. While that will take time, I think the work has really well and truly begun. I do want to underscore 3 challenges that I think will come in the way of, or not come in the way, but really need to be addressed by us together. The first is that in the case of mobile broadband or wired broadband, for broadband infrastructure, backhaul is absolutely essential. And backhaul can be done through one of 2 ways. One is by providing fiber direct to the home or fiber to the tower, for which customers can be served. And the second is through wireless backhaul, which is spectrum bands, particularly in the E-band, which can help in actually moving large amounts of traffic on the backhaul. Now, in both these areas, we have serious struggles. Right of way, despite all the help that's been provided by the Department of Telecommunications and the center, still has a lot of complexities at the state governments and at different municipal corporations. I think we really need to simplify the right of way and make that economical, almost make that free, and just enable the repair of the infrastructure, the repair of the road. And linked to that is also the maintenance of this fiber, because once you lay out the fiber, road construction, construction of any work that's done on the road, whether it's in sewage, electricity, road construction, can damage the fiber and inconvenience thousands and thousands of customers. So I think right of way is one major area that we must continue to work on. The second is E-band spectrum. Now, E-band spectrum is a band of spectrum that can enable large amounts of backhaul from the mobile tower to carry broadband traffic. Unfortunately, this is spectrum that has been sitting with the government and has not been allocated to the players. And I think this is a waste of very precious resource. And my view is that we must find some way of bundling it with 5G spectrum so that it's available for use in order to build out 5G. I mean, I would go so far as to say that if E-band spectrum doesn't come in along with the access spectrum on 5G, the 5G game will really be in serious jeopardy. The second area is rural. I think there still are villages that are uncovered, and I must compliment the government for having put in place a very bold and visionary program of Bharatnet, which is one of the important programs to connect the villages. There are challenges, however, on Bharatnet in terms of SLAs. And one of the things that we have seen at Airtel is that wherever we have taken Bharatnet fiber, we have had a lot of issues around the SLAs in relation to our own fiber that we've rolled out, which then has, which means serious issues around quality. The second part of going rural is also around using mobile infrastructure. And I think there are two parts to this. One of the ideas that I would like to propose today is to actually take a particular spectrum band, let's say 700 megahertz, and actually allocate that with very, very stringent obligations to connect the entire country, but do that free of cost, so that we invest the money in the access and the capex rather than in spectrum, and do that with very stringent rollout obligations. That's just an idea to offer in order to take it to every part of the country. The second part on rural is the USO fund. Again, that's been used to actually roll out many unconnected villages. Airtel has also actively participated in bidding for the tenders for the USO program, and has participated and won several tenders. But there are two challenges here that I'd like to bring to your notice. One is the complex approvals at the state governments that allow, that inhibit the satisfactory rollout of the sites that are part of your vision. And the second part is that even if it's rolled out, many subsidies are stuck with the government, and these subsidies are not paid out despite having made these investments. So that is the second area that I would like to bring to your notice. And the third challenge, I think, is on power. As we know, the state of infrastructure in terms of power has improved dramatically in the country. But there still are challenges, particularly when it comes to use of fossil fuels like diesel, or even in unavailability of green power. And with more and more greening that is essential for India, I would say that there are two things we should look at. One is an open access policy for power, so that we can invest in greening some of our towers, and not just at the towers, but larger investments so that we can still have an open access policy on power. And the second is really having access to industrial rates of power in a industry like telecom, which has now become an essential infrastructure. I want to end by saying that I think this program that we are running to connect every citizen of India is, I would say, a right of every citizen. Broadband is at the center of economic activity. And from our perspective as Airtel, I want to assure you that we are fully committed to making whatever investments are required to meet the vision of Digital India. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Vittal. I think it was the points that you made are very relevant, and I hope that we would be able to incorporate that in our decision making and policy making. Now I give the floor to Mr. Purwar, Chairman and Managing Director of BSNL, to offer his remarks. Kindly restrict yourself to 5 minutes so that maybe we are on time. Thank you.
Very good morning to all of you. I think the leaving no citizen behind is a very, very inclusive agenda of the government, in which the broadband is a very, very important factor, because it is as important as today the data has become as the ATA. So I think in the present strata, we have to work that all citizens should have access to internet. A lot of things have been done in the last 7 years. If we look at both in terms of the number of subscribers, we have leapfrogged from 93 crore to 120 crore. The technology has grown from 3G to 4G, from copper broadband to FTTH broadband. The number of internet subscribers has grown from 25 crore to 83 crore, but still the penetration of rural telecom services is still a challenge. If we look, the rural teledensity is still 60%, and if you look at the internet access, is hardly 38%. So very clearly, there is a rural and urban divide exists both in numbers of teledensity and access to internet. I think we have to understand that telecom, being a capital incentive sector, providing telecom services in rural area is a costly affair, where the demand is low and paying capacity is also somewhat lower than the urban centers. So the role of the government is very, very important in creation of infrastructure directly or giving the viability gap funding through USOF. And Bharatnet is a very, very important project of the government in which it has been done. So challenges for us is, number one, is creating of infrastructure in a non-viable area. And number two, what I look at is a supply side challenge because of the rural availability of power. Third is the poor financial health of the telecom sector. And third is the, I will say, demand side drivers are still missing, because the economic aspect of the size of the rural economy and the rural demand still need to pick up in a significant stage. So objective of all us to reach the all citizens we are covered is the creation of viable infrastructure at a least cost. So Bharatnet has played a very critical role in that aspect, in which we have able to lay 5.65 lakh kilometer, and in which nearly 1.7 lakh houses are covered. And there is a roadmap ahead to us that 6 lakh villages we have to cover by 2025. But this laying the infrastructure is remain continuously to be underutilized. And this can be improved only when the viability of the Bharatnet usage can be improved. I think the critical part is, as Gopal has said, the SLA and the maintenance philosophy has to be done. And second is very important, is the unleashing the private entrepreneurship at the local level. So the local persons start using the infrastructure by providing the last mile connectivity to the houses and the commercial establishment or the shops which are available in the rural area. This will be possible only when the demand is there and support from the government is there. I think the mobile infrastructure is another area where a lot of work has been done by the government to reach out the people, because the Bharatnet will provide the connectivity to certain pockets of the rural area, but all population has to be covered by the mobile services. So mobile connectivity project in the island, left-wing affected areas, uncovered villages, and the northeastern area are a very, very important aspect. And the important thing which I like to say, we have to look at the agnostic technology approach so that the availability of the services can be done at the least cost possible. The various constraints to reach these objectives are the supply side constraint. The poor availability of reliable power infrastructure is the most difficult part which we have to cover. So I think the power, reliable power, and the quality, good quality power is very essential in the rural area if we want to take forward the broadband. ROW permissions is a very ticklish issue, and reaching the optical fiber to the villages or even the urban areas has become a challenge because the ROW permissions are time consuming, they are very expensive. And this problem becomes much more difficult when the fiber has to be laid through forest, roads and highways and railways. Since this is a joint forum in which we have having a discussion with the roadways, so my suggestion will be for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways that perhaps there is a thought process need to be created in which the public duct need to be created in the central verge, so that the expansion of the highways or the road infrastructure should not become a bottleneck in disruption of services. Today we find whenever the road development takes place, the whole telecom infrastructure gets destroyed. And there is a huge cost which the TSPs incur. But if you create a public duct in the central verge of the road, all these challenges can be overcome and it will become a revenue generating part for the national highway authorities as well. So ROW and the policy framework to enable a long-term solution for ROW is an essential part if we want to preserve both the quality of the broadband infrastructure as well as the uninterrupted services to the people. And for that, the major role has to be played by the state government and the local government. Local government has to very clearly understand that telecom is an essential infrastructure for economic development as well as improving the human development index for overall improvement in the quality of living of people. Telecom services is an enabler for betterment of service delivery in all sectors, including education and health. So it should be a partnership model rather than looking for telecom sector as a cash-rich organization where the funds can be generated for the economic activity of the state support. PPP is another area which I look forward because any telco to reach the corners of the rural villages is a very difficult aspect. So the public-private partnership needs to be created in which the telecom infrastructure has been created through Bharatnet to be utilized, and for which right kind of business ecosystem for last mile has to be created, which should increase the employment to the local people as well as support for supply of quality services by local person, so that the employment generation can take place, economic activity get increased in the rural area, which will be the demand driver for adoption of telecom services in the rural areas. I think there is another issue which we need to be looked into from the policy side by the government, the health of the telecom sector. Today we look at the various bold decisions has taken by the government in terms of the reform package, the ease of doing business so far the SACFA and WPC aspects are concerned, but still there are two issues which comes to my mind which need to be addressed. Number one is the reasonability of spectrum cost, and second is the all-inclusive taxes and levies to improve the reasonable level of taxes only on the telecom sector so that the affordability to the customer can be brought. The healthy telecom sector will lead to a maintaining the level of competition in the telecom sector, which will further enhance the consumer welfare, as well as there is really chances that rural investment will be attracted by the telcos for further improving the broadband infrastructure. I think the telcos also has to work in many areas to improve the delivery of service. Customer grievances is one area where the telcos has to take the responsibility for making the more investment and addressing the quality of service issue if we really want to reach and provide the quality services to the citizen. The rural area and reaching the no citizen away from the telecom services, we find there are many demand side constraints as well. Number one is the affordability. The low demand in rural area is due to lower income levels in that particular segment. So we have to devise the various technological solutions so that the quality of service can be provided at a lower pricing point to attract the rural demand in a significant manner, which should be the model. It can be on the basis of the support from the government for a certain period of time, or investing in the technologies in the local manufacturing in the country, so the cost of investment and the cost of rolling of the network can be reduced significantly. Device availability is another area which is constraining the availability of broadband to many pupils. Digital literacy and availability of relevant content is other areas which we have to work. Today we find the most of the content is urban centric, So we have to make the investment for creating the right kind of content which is being consumed and relevant for the people of the rural areas, and particularly the agricultural sector and the education and health, which are most relevant for the rural people, because access to the quality education is a very, very important. And similarly, the very important factor is the access to the quality health parameter. So I think telemedicine, teleeducation are very, very important, where significant investment is required to be made by the government in a mission mode, so that the right kind of content and the drivers of the demand can be created. BSNL is at forefront of providing the services in rural areas. Our 70% of exchanges, nearly 19,000 exchanges are in rural area. My 50% of wireline subscribers are coming from rural areas. My 40% of wireless subscribers are coming from rural area. Being a public sector, we understand it is our responsibility to the citizen of this country that we should be in forefront rolling out the network in the rural areas. We are also playing a very important role in construction of Bharatnet. Nearly 60% of connected GPs infrastructure is created by BSNL. BSNL is also executing various projects in mobile penetration in rural areas, left-wing extremist affected areas also. The BSNL has rolled out nearly 2,400 mobile towers with the cooperation of the Government of India and USOM. I think the biggest initiative which the BSNL has taken recently is penetration of high-speed broadband access through the FTTH. Today we have 8,000 micro private partners with us, which has rolled out nearly 20 lakh subscribers household active FTTH connections, in which 40% connections are coming from rural area. So the quality FTTH provision for enabling the broadband services and consumption of e-services has been done by the BSNL. And BSNL is leveraging and strengthening that initiative in a very big manner so that we can double this numbers in next 16 months. And for which we are investing both in access network as well as the backbone network. And this is giving a rich dividend. Number one, the local entrepreneurship is being developed, local employment is being generated, and with this initiative, we are able to create nearly 60,000 direct employment to the people. So I think BSNL will continue to do the work in establishing and improving the infrastructure of broadband in rural areas by making various investments.
Mr. Purwar, we are running out of time, I think so.
Okay, sir. I just say one thing, sir. It's a partnership model in which we all have to work together. And we have what we have found from the recent interventions, that this model need to be worked where all state government, central government, local bodies has to work together to create the infrastructure with the support of the government. So no citizen should remain uncovered in the broadband access. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Purwar. I think you made a number of very valid points. Now I would request Mr. Manoj Changani, Secretary General of the All India Digital Cable Federation, to make his brief remarks. Kindly restrict yourself to about 5 minutes, and you don't have to repeat whatever points have been made already.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, good morning, everyone. This is Manoj Changani, Secretary General, All India Digital Cable Federation. AIDCF is an association of Pan-India MSOs. First of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Secretary Telecom for providing me this opportunity, and to the speakers for their thoughtful inputs. On today's theme regarding leaving no citizen behind, I firmly believe that the MSOs and the cable operators are the last mile associates and are personally connected to every citizen of India. Presently, there are about 1752 MSOs and nearly 1.5 lakh LCOs who can certainly strengthen the whole process of bridging the gap in rural habitations of India. One second. Today's breakout session regarding road and Infoway to all rural habitations, I would like to highlight that our cable operators are providing services to nearly 70 million households, including in the rural areas, and they can become the great champions and catalysts in proliferation of the broadband. With this, I would like to give few suggestions in a limited period of time. First thing, grant of infrastructure status to the cable sector. Sir, deployment of broadband technology and network in the rural areas requires extensive capital investment. And considering these cable operators who are very small in size, getting infrastructure status to them will give them a capital boost and will help them in building their broadband network quickly and competitively. Point number 2, So reduction of GST rates from 18% to 5%. Sir, in present scenario, internet connectivity has become an essential part of our daily lives. Almost every household like to have a broadband connection. However, high GST rates of 18% is acting as a major deterrent, one of the major deterrent. If it is reduced to 5%, it will definitely give needed push in improving broadband proliferation and also will give ease of business to the ground level LCOs. So point number 3, grant of license to LCOs via a centralized web portal. Sir, still LCOs have to file offline for their licenses to the respective head post office, because of which the method has become too cumbersome. Therefore, we suggest that a centralized single window clearance portal shall be started for the granting of license to LCOs. So point number 4, which is the most important one, is scrapping of license fee of 8% from internet services. So we are requesting that the license fee, which is presently at 8%, should be completely scrapped from ISP, or at least shall be held for next 5 years for providing wireline broadband services. It is an additional cost which is directly and indirectly coming in the broadband tariff plans to the end consumer. And if this license fee will be reduced from 8%, it will give a boost to the proliferation of the broadband. And last but not the least, the ROW issue, which has been deliberated by Purvar sir and Gopal sir. I would just like to mention one point over here, that there shall be a centralized or a state-wise single window ROW clearance portal, which shall be there for providing facilitation to the industry operators. So with this, I would like to conclude my remarks, and I, along with my members of AIDCF, remain committed to support in furthering the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister of leaving no citizen behind. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj. I think those were very, very useful points. We look forward to interacting with you further on those subsequently. Now, I would invite Mr. Rajesh Charya, President of the ISP Association of India, to offer his remarks. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajaramna, for showing the confidence in the ISPs and putting the confidence that through the BBNL, the ISPs can proliferate into the rural broadband. Sir, as per your advice, we have taken a meeting between the ISPs and the BBNL during the first week of this month, and it was a very successful meeting. Right now, you are saying, sir, 64 ISPs are already connected with the BBNL, while we are targeting that almost all the ISP who are working into the country should connect to the BBNL, so that no citizen should leave behind in terms of broadband to the rural India. Sir, already my previous speaker has spoken a lot of things about that, but one thing we can assure you that if the rural India is connected with the broadband properly, like the urban India, the employment issue can be resolved very easily, and as well as the things which are bridging the gap between the rural and urban can be met. Sir, for the rural broadband, local entrepreneurship is very important, because all the smaller ISPs and the medium ISPs are working as a local entrepreneur, and supporting the local entrepreneur will be a big challenge into this penetration. Reason being into the ease of doing business, what we are finding that there are a lot of regulatory and financial challenges are there with the one-man local entrepreneur, which he is unable to perform properly. So my request to the department and to you, sir, will be how under the ease of doing business, we can make the friendly policy in terms of regulation and financials, so that they should be able to do the things in a proper way. Another, sir, among the sharing of infrastructure, active and passive, among the ISPs, like you have allowed to the telcos, but still the ISP segments are left behind. And due to this, we are not able to share our infrastructure. And third, sir, the major point is, Apada mein avsar, as our Honorable Prime Minister has told during the pandemic time. And you will find that the FTTH has increased in multiple fold. My request will be, sir, like PM Vani, we should also promote the FTTH, so that the rural broadband can also be onto the FTTH. And for the same, my earlier speaker has already requested you for the waiver of the license fee. Sir, we all know that the rural India is a very price sensitive. And for the price to remove this issue, we have to rationalize the taxation and the license fee issue. For that, you have to consider about the license fee, GST, as well as some indirect financial support to the ISPs who are working into that area. Sir, into the wireline, as Mr. Gopal has told, that 24 million, how to increase this to the 1 billion, because our Honorable Minister has given us a target of 1 crore broadband connectivity by the end of December 2022, and we are working on that. And for that, we will be requesting you that all the infrastructure which are available with for the BBNL, the same with the BSNL should also be shared with the ISP, so that we should be able to fulfill the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, that together we will reach every corner of our country and leave no citizen. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh Charia, for those very useful remarks. Now I would request Mr. Rakesh Kumar Mehta, Secretary General of the VNO Association of India, to offer his useful suggestion.
Thank you, sir. This is Rakesh Kumar Mehta for giving me opportunity. I think you are hearing me. My video is not going. Anyhow, I will give some short point from VNO. VNO is supposed to be one of the biggest enabler in all the countries. Our VNO partners, which are VNO members, one of the VNO members, Clinton India, which is partner with the BSNL since last 5 years, but it is not able to move ahead due to certain reasons behind that. But we want that BSNL should take advantage of the expertise of the VNO, which has partnered with it, and it has got 28 countries, and every 6 months we roll out one country. So there are a lot of things we can provide to BSNL as a contributor towards the economy. We have got experts in more than 30 countries, and we can provide super app, everything we can provide to BSNL with the local entrepreneurs, with the category B operators or VNO. They are all ready to work with BSNL and provide their expertise and enhance the broadband penetration to the rural area. First thing. And second thing, I want to say that how to enable this thing. You see that our one of the Clinton India, which is a global VNO in USA, there's one program, USA Lifeline program being run by the FCC for the USO fund. In that they are providing, Lifeline is the FCC's program to help the make communication service more affordable to low-income consumers. Lifeline provides subscriber a discount on monthly telephone service purchased from the participating VNOs. The FCC and state governments are mandated some of the licensed operators to provide a low-income household in that state that subsidize mobile connection also they are giving. It is happening in the US since 1985. So if we want to make our rural population to run, to use the availability of the technology on internet, on broadband, the USO fund and government has to provide this facility as being done by the FCC. I had shared this letter. I will share again this use case of the US with Goodsell, so that we can take it forward on the base of the experience of different countries, and VNOs are the major players in those countries to provide that mobile connectivity with data coverage, and the government gives subsidy, direct subsidy to their account. Same thing we can do it in India also, to make affordable to the internet to the all. And last and most important thing, that license fee. You see that as per my experience in this industry since last 50 years, when we started the internet in India in 1995, you see the government of India took the decision that only 1 rupee license fee will be levied for next 10 years. You see that if government had not levied the 1 rupee license fee and given the other license fee, India would not have reached this place. So I still remember in 1995 to 2005, 1 rupee license fee was there. Now it is again the time for 5 years. At least you reduce the license fee for the internet, at least for the small ISP and the VNO, so that they can reach to the last mile in the villages, rural population, provide the connectivity. And BSNL and BBNL are the good opportunity for them to tie up with the expert VNOs, and we can provide you the technology and startup which are already tied up with us. and give you more access to that, and we'll provide the radio network also as per our lesson. And we hope that BSNL and BBNL will take advantage of our expertise as a BNO, and we will take it rural population connectivity to the rural areas along with that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. I think you have made very useful suggestions, especially with relation to the programs in other countries, etc. So we'll certainly look at that. Now, let me invite Mr. Sarvesh Singh, the CMD of BBNL, to offer his remarks. Kindly take 5 minutes and not.
Yeah, thank you, sir, and good afternoon to all. Sir, most of the speakers have spoken about Bharatnet a lot. So I'll try to concentrate more on what BBNL is doing for Bharatnet and what efforts we have made in the very recent times for proliferation of and utilization of Bharatnet. Sir. Briefly, sir, Bharatnet is a flagship project of Government of India, where we are providing connectivity to all the Gram Panchayats of the country, roughly 2.6 lakhs, primarily by laying of optical fiber cable. And now the project is being extended to all the 6 lakh villages of the country as well. The objective is to provide affordable broadband connectivity to rural India, sir. And the project is the backbone of digital India and aims to reduce digital divide between urban and rural India, sir. The objective is also social inclusion, where through effective delivery of government schemes and citizen-centric services, sir, we'll be trying to include the rural folks into the mainstream, sir. So e-governance, e-education, telemedicine, e-banking are the various services we are already delivering, sir. Besides, of course, providing the connectivity to the households. So now Bharat Broadband Network Limited, BBNL, is a company, is a SPV created under the Department of Telecommunications, and it is responsible for implementation of Bharatnet. And not only the implementation part, but it is also responsible for operation and maintenance and utilization of Bharatnet as well. So the utilization of Bharatnet, sir, had always been a challenge, and we began with putting faith on our sister organizations, the government organizations, sir, and but somehow it did not take off. Then we also tried to push utilization of Bharatnet through government funding through one of our semi-government organizations, sir, and where we tried to connect the government institutions through government funding, sir. That part also, sir, where we found that there are a lot of impediments, and the job is still far from complete, sir. So now the realization is that utilization by government or through government aid cannot happen and will not happen. So that is the thought now, and at least not as fast as the way we want really the utilization to happen. So the thought is that we now will what we'll do is that we have to involve the private sector into it, sir. And unless we involve the private sector, it's now very clear that the objective of providing the affordable broadband connectivity through Bharatnet to rural India may not be possible. And so that on a long-term approach, sir, we have taken up the monetization of Bharatnet through PPP route, where we intend to involve the private sector for connecting, for connectivity, the balanced Gram Panchayats and the villages, of course, and long-term operation and maintenance and utilization of Bharatnet as well, sir. And in the short run, sir, BBNL is taking various measures to push utilization. One of the measures we have recently taken up under the guidance of Sir Secretary Telecom and DOT is providing connectivity to government institutions in a proactive manner. We realized pandemic has shown us that just because we are not able to connect in spite of connecting 1.7 lakh Gram Panchayats, sir, the connectivity to the government institutions, schools and all, sir, that did not happen the way it should have happened, sir. So now what we are doing is that we are proactively interacting with the government institutions and various ministries and the departments so that we get the demand from these departments and the ministries, that whatever government institutions they have and they are willing to pay and get them connected, sir. So those institutions, BBNL will try to connect through various or whatever means they adopt, but they will try to connect this thing. So we have contacted various government departments, sir, and we have found that there is a lot of enthusiasm, and they are also saying that for the first time somebody has come and really in a proactive way we are trying to capture the bulk demand also from these ministries, sir. We have developed the IT based system where we capture the demand. For example, we went to the education department, sir. They want connectivity to their 15,000 exemplar schools, which they are going to set up in the rural areas, sir. These exemplar schools they further will give a lot of training and guidance and hand-holding to the other schools actually. So these exemplar schools will be connecting. We have got a demand for it. Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, sir, they want the 50,000 digital libraries that they're going to provide in the rural areas, sir. Those 50,000 digital libraries, they want us to connect, sir. Then health and family welfare, almost 1.5 lakh health and wellness centers are there in rural areas which are to be connected. Then women and child development departments, ministry, they want 40,000 Anganwadis to be connected. Ministry of Home Affairs want the police stations 1,500 odd to be connected. Ministry of Corporation wants 1 lakh packs to be connected. Fisheries want landing centers 1,500 to be connected. Skill development, entrepreneurship, they want ITIs to be connected, which are there in the rural areas. Obviously, rural development and Ministry of Panchayati Raj want the panchayats to be connected. Similarly, agriculture, research and education, sir, Krishi Vikas Kendras to be connected. So these type of demands, and after interacting, sir, we have captured the demand, and we have developed the IT-based system also, sir, to capture it. And then what we have done is that this time we have decided that
Mr. Sarvesh, we are running out of time. You have to cut short yours.
2 minutes will take. So I have involved. What we are doing is that we have involved the private ISPs for providing the connectivity. We are engaging with the private ISPs and the entrepreneurs. We have made a BBNL Associates platform where we are registering them, sir. And we have come up with a very attractive revenue sharing schemes and a lot of ISPs, some 63, 64 odd, have signed the agreement with us to provide the broadband in 14 states, sir. And already 600 connections have been provided through revenue sharing agreement in spread over 35 blocks and 161 GP, sir. As of now, 2.1 lakh FTTH connections have been provided in rural areas through Bharatnet, sir, and Wi-Fi access points have also been provided in 1 lakh Gram Panchayat, sir. So this is what, sir, and most of the ISPs are providing the services through entrepreneurs, so which is generating a lot of employment in the villages, sir. So with this, I want to end, sir, saying that BBNL with Bharatnet will make sure that together with private participation, we'll provide broadband to all in rural India, not only provide, but at an affordable price, sir. And we confirm that we're fully committed. And as far as broadband in rural areas is concerned, sir, we'll make sure that no one is left behind. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Sarvesh. So now I invite Mr. Rajat Mukherjee, Director General, Broadband India Forum.
Sir, thank you very much. It is a great privilege to have been invited to join this present list of very illustrious members of the communication sector to share the views of Broadband India Forum and the Infoway connectivity. So as the country aspires to develop into a digital behemoth, one of the solid foundations that already exists, which is connecting the outer fringes of the villages and citizens in remote areas, takes on even more importance. The overdependence in the past on optical fiber cable in providing connectivity to these remote locations has proved to be unequal to the task, and therefore the plan requires a relook. In the interim, we have been fortunate to witness the rise and development of several newer technologies that could provide solutions, and I wish to dwell on the opportunities that abound to overcome the challenges of the past and herald a new future of inclusivity for the over 6 lakh villages and Gram Panchayats to join the mainstream digital readiness community and contribute to building and achieving the nation's dream of education for all, healthcare for all, through broadband for all, thereby leaving no citizen behind. While the government had chosen fiber for connectivity from Grand Panchayat to village, fiber cannot reach everywhere to most parts of the deep rural, remote and undulated terrains of the country. Other technology and wireless options need to be explored concurrently. There's a combination of E-band or free space optical communications technologies, also known as FSOC, along with fiber and Wi-Fi in the last mile that can also be a quick, cost-effective and reliable panacea to effectively bridging the gap between the Gram Panchayats and the additional villages in the shortest possible period of time. A mix of millimeter wave technology for middle mile combined with public Wi-Fi for the last mile access would entail deployment of a commercial grade E-band, which is in the 71 to 76 gigahertz and 81 to 86 gigahertz bands, for which equipment is already currently available. This can be used to carry the signal from the Gram Panchayat right up to the village hub, which could be created within 500 meters of a village cluster or within the village itself. This E-band equipment has been tested in other parts of the world and to carry signals of up to 20 kilometers in a single hop in a rural environment. And it can provide multi-gigabit capacities or fiber-like capacity. Sir, FSOC, which is a line of sight optical communication technology that propagates light in free space, air, outer space, or vacuum, is capable of up to 40 gigabits per second of data, voice, and video communications through the air, allowing optical connectivity without requiring fiber optic cable or securing spectrum licenses, and operates between the 780 to 1600 nanometer wavelength bands and uses an electrical and electrical optical converter to realize this particular dream. Sir, one of the most versatile modern technologies for connecting the unconnecting and bridging the digital divide is SATCOM. You have also made reference to this, and with the plethora of advanced SATCOM technologies, LEOs and NEOs, along with the legacy GEOs, SATCOM offers a unique combination wherein it can be used to backhaul large amounts of data traffic and can suitably complement terrestrial 5G across geographically difficult and remote terrains where traditional technologies are not economically viable. High throughput GEO and next generation LEO satellites can provide high capacity and low latency broadband connectivity for a number of applications, including last mile connectivity to untapped and unconnected areas, thereby fulfilling the role of a universal broadband connectivity for one and all. Satellite is an excellent choice when it comes to rural and remote connectivity because it is quick to deploy, it circumvents the right-of-way issue, and it has a large footprint which ensures pan-India connectivity. It also ensures an excellent option as an alternate medium to fiber. There's a lot of foreign satellite bandwidth which is presently above the sky in India, which is going unutilized. And if authorized, this could easily be tapped and made available for Bharatnet. Sir, based on our estimates, a pan-India deployment using SATCOM with associated regulatory clearances, etc., as per the current norms, can be done in less than 12 months' time. Finally, the government's flagship program of PM-WANI, which has already rolled out, enables the creation of thousands and millions of public Wi-Fi hotspots in a decentralized manner, which is the most effective, cost-competitive, last-mile connectivity solution which can be used to bridge the digital divide effectively. With increased customer awareness programs like the Broadband in India Forum Connectivity Accelerator Program, the proliferation of PM-WANI-led public Wi-Fi hotspots are likely to bring about the connectivity revolution that Digital India truly needs as India marches towards meeting the target of 10 million public Wi-Fi hotspots laid down in the NDCP. I believe that with careful planning and a mix of alternate technologies and capabilities, the vision of leaving no citizen behind in the journey towards poverty alleviation can be achieved. Sir, Broadband India Forum is completely aligned with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of a digital India and mission of broadband for all. We stand for a provision of affordable, reliable, and always available high-speed and high-capacity broadband to each and every citizen of the country. It is our endeavor to enhance the ecosystem through knowledge-based interventions in the policy and regulatory discourse to enable the provision of ubiquitous broadband service everywhere. Once again, sir, my grateful thanks for having been invited to share the views of Broadband India Forum here today. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. I think those were very, very relevant comments. We are taking note of all of those. Now I would pass on. I would like to thank all the participants in the first part of this Infoway session. And I now pass on the baton to Mr. Ashish Goyal, who is Additional Secretary and Co-Moderator here, who take it forward on the Rural Road Connectivity Program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all the stakeholders of PMGSY family. Welcome to this webinar and thank you for your patience. You all are very well versed as to how PMGSY has been rolled out in the country, where in the last year we achieved more than 100 kilometers per day construction speed despite all the restrictions due to COVID and incurred the highest ever expenditure. Now, Honorable Prime Minister in his address during the morning has recently emphasized that we need to emphasize building roads which are more durable and require less maintenance. So the whole focus now comes on to use of new and green technologies in construction of rural roads so that they are durable and their construction can happen at more speed. Going forward, we would be stressing more on new technology, and in the same vein, we are holding an international conference during the month of May, in which all the technology providers as well as implementers would be invited from all over the developing world. I would like to show a very, very small video on PMGSY. Thereafter, I would invite our first speaker, Shri Manoj Kumar Singh, who is Additional Chief Secretary, Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, Government of UP. He has been pioneer in adopting the new technology in construction of roads like full depth reclamation. So after the short video, I will invite Shri Manoj Kumar Singh ji, Additional Chief Secretary, UP, to present his views. Short video, please.
वर्ष 2000 में प्रारंभ हुई प्रधानमंत्री ग्राम सड़क योजना ने ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों के चहुमुखी विकास को नए आयाम दिए। वर्तमान में 6,91,000 किलोमीटर सड़कों के निर्माण के साथ ग्रामीण संपर्क सड़कें लगभग 99% ग्रामीण बसावटों तक पहुंच चुकी हैं। ग्राम्य जीवन की राहों को आसान बनाते हुए योजना के तहत बनी सड़कों को बैंक, स्कूल, कृषि मंडी, अस्पताल जैसे विभिन्न सर्वाधिक महत्व वाले क्षेत्रों से जोड़ने का काम योजनाबद्ध तरीके से युद्ध स्तर पर किया जा रहा है। पीएमजीएसवाई फेज 3 के कुशल प्रबंधन और संचालन में अहम योगदान है टेक्नोलॉजी का। जियो पीएमजीएसवाई ऐप द्वारा उन सभी सुविधा क्षेत्रों की जियो टैगिंग की जाती है जिन्हें सड़क द्वारा समीप की बसावट से जोड़ा जाना है। जीआईएस मैप्स पर अंकित सभी बसावटों और रोड नेटवर्क के डेटा की मदद से रोड प्लानिंग की जाती है। इस प्रक्रिया में एक बड़ा योगदान है NRIDA द्वारा विकसित किए गए ट्रेस मैप्स का। ट्रेस मैप्स के विस्तृत आकलन और विभिन्न स्तर पर विचार विमर्श के पश्चात रोड प्लान को अंतिम रूप दिया जाता है। पीएमजीएसवाई फेज 3 के अंतर्गत सड़कों के अपग्रेडेशन में ये सुनिश्चित किया गया है कि राज्य द्वारा निर्माण के लिए चुनी गई सड़कों में से 15% सड़कों का निर्माण नई तकनीकों के इस्तेमाल से हो।
May I now request ACS UP, Shri Manoj Kumar Singh ji, to kindly yes. Participant list में देखें। कराइए. So meanwhile, I will request Professor Veera Raghavan from IIT Madras to कौन? BCS आ गए हैं, ठीक है. Sir, if you are there, sir, kindly go ahead with your presentation, sir. ACS UP. You may start your presentation, sir. ACS, RD and meanwhile, we can ask Professor Veera Raghavan to go ahead with his presentation.
Thank you, sir. My presentation, if it can be shown, I can.
We can hear you, Professor Veera Raghavan.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish, for inviting me to share my thoughts on the new materials and technology. I should know how to change the slides. I'm not able to.
You click on the presentation and take the control.
Slides are not changing. I'm not able to get the. I think I should be able to get that. Yeah. So thank you, sir, for the talk on the new materials and technologies, the way forward. So what are the issues and concern in the introduction of new materials and technology? We require huge quantity of materials for the, in terms of soil, in terms of aggregate for new construction, as well as aggregate and bitumen for the maintenance and rehabilitation. This also results in higher initial cost of construction, as well as for maintenance and rehabilitation. Many of the states have banned quarrying. There's a depletion of natural resources, and therefore there's a need for introduction of new materials and technologies in the construction. At the same time, we should also introduce or use industrial waste like fly ash, waste plastics, steel slag, as well as marginal materials in construction. So the need of the hour is a sustainable infrastructure, conserving the natural resources, reduce energy, as well as improved air quality, reduce maintenance, improved performance, and lower life cycle cost. Therefore, the need for the new material and technology is a need of the hour today. We look at the challenges. When I want to use the new material and technology, what are the issues and what are the challenges? The challenges are that what is the expected performance and life of rural roads constructed with the new materials and technology? Are they performing better than conventional materials and technology? Can the improved performance be quantified? What are the environmental benefits if you use these new and innovative materials and technology? What is the life cycle cost? Will the use of new technology enable faster construction? To do this process of study, I appreciate NRIDA and the Ministry of Rural Development for having taken up the new technology initiatives way back in 2013. 10% of the length of the annual proposals using any of the new technologies with IRC specifications, and another 5% on the accredited materials. The role of various stakeholders have been defined. Special conditions of the contract are also incorporated in consultation with the NRIDA. So the documentation procedure, quality control, we can done operation of the equipment, everything has been very clearly defined. The capacity building of all the stakeholders is also carried out, including the state quality monitor and the national quality monitor. The defect liability period has only been made as 6 months. This envisage opened up the box for introduction of new technology in the rural road sector. We have several new technologies adopted under NRIDA. One is a stabilized basis, waste plastics modified binder, coal bituminous mixes, geocells, which will enable pavement reduction, thickness reduction, improved performance, enable use of marginal materials in pavement layers, use of industrial waste like slag and fly ash, full depth reclamation, wherein the existing pavement layer can be recycled again and again and again, and it forms a better constructed new stabilized layer, which also results in a lower life cycle cost. New technologies like self-fill concrete, panel concrete, roller compared concrete, all have been introduced under NRIDA. We also started using coir and jute in rural construction. At the same time, when I will post a question as how are they performing, I appreciate again in NRIDA for having approved 2 research projects, which was coordinated by a networking a number of institutions in the country. It was coordinated by IIT Madras. One was the performance evaluation of the PMGSY roads constructed with waste plastics in premise carpet. We studied the performance of 72 sections around 308 kilometers. You can see that the blue is a case of waste plastics and red is a case of conventional construction. We find that the performance of waste plastics is better than the conventional material of premise carpet. Therefore, the polyethylene in the waste plastics improved adhesion. There were less raveling in the section, and hence the performance was better. The average pavement condition index is very good, 0 is very poor. We find that even after 5 to 6 years, the performance of these rural roads are much, much better. The other project which was approved by NRIDA is on the life cycle performance assessment of rural roads constructed using cold mix technology. Again, IIT Madras coordinated with IIT Bhubaneswar and other institutions. And then this study has been carried out for the last 2 years and find that we have tested 73 test sections running to a length of 270.43 kilometers in the states of Odisha, Assam, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. We study the performance. Again, we find the performance of coal mixes are comparable or even better than the conventional mixes. We also quantified the environmental impact benefits of these coal mix technology. We find that the environmental benefits are much, much higher when you adopt a coal mix technology. So therefore, similar to these 2 projects which have been evaluated, I joining the NRIDA in taking up several more new projects on the performance evaluation. The next one which we would like to take up is on concrete pavements and the performance. We would like to take the performance evaluation of the panel concrete, self-fill concrete, and many more new technologies will be taken up. This will quantify and enable the way forward to adopt these technologies. So what are the administrative issues and challenges? Administrative issues are that how to increase the proportion of the new and green technology in the construction, how to increase the participation of academicians as well as research institutions in the new projects. What strategy can be adopted by the states to increase the acceptance of the new materials and technology? Will the use of modern equipment enable faster as well as better construction? What are the benefits of green technology initiatives? How the new technology will enable job creation and how to enable skill development? These are the questions that are posed. So what are the technical issues and challenges are that there's no one-size-fits-all design. One technology which may be available in one state may not be available in another state. The choice of material and technology depends upon the availability of the material, local expertise of the contractor, equipment availability, as well as the cost economics. Second is how to characterize the new material, how to introduce this material characterization in the pavement design, or the schedule of weights available for the introduction of new material in the design, in the project proposal. What are the constructability issues? What are the quality control issues? How to monitor the performance prediction, life cycle cost analysis? Will the new materials and technology result in sustainable, long-lasting pavements at a lower cost? And is it environmentally beneficial? These are the questions that are to be technical issues that are to be done. So I also again appreciate NRIDA for having brought out the do-it-yourself booklet. Of late, we already these books are ready, draft stage is approved. We will be shortly bringing out booklets on coal mix technology, waste plastic modified bituminous mixes, cement stabilized sub-bases and bases, geosynthetics in pavements, interlocking concrete paver blocks, mechanized surface dressing, full depth recycling for the PMGSY roads to cement. These will be out maybe this month or next month. So the way forward is that the proposals with alternate materials and design has to be encouraged. So far, we have been adopting only the IRC approved design, standard design template. But if I want to introduce, like similar to that of the NHAI, the design, build, operate, transfer basis, we adopt in NHAI. Similar here, we should encourage alternate designs. Priority for green technology proposal should be given. I feel that there can be a rating system if some of the proposals have got green initiatives, let us assign a weightages and take up those projects. Third is funding for the academic institutions as well as research institutions on the inventions as well as proliferation of technologies. I think we, NRADA, along with few of the IITs, can develop a research problem statements, circulate to all the national institutes of importance, which will enable other departments of the institute also join hands and take up interdisciplinary research. And we should also reward the states which adopt new technologies by increasing fund allocation to them, encourage IT-enabled solutions for traffic data collection as well as field quality control monitoring. And I think whenever we want to introduce, have some lessons learned, I think new codes are to be developed, updation of the existing codes are to be introduced. I think that we should also talk to the machinery equipment manufacturers to introduce new material, new technologies and machinery that can be used, that will enable faster and durable construction. Interaction with the industry or the machinery for faster construction is another area. Academic institutions' participation should now is only on design approval, estimate approval, but I think they should be involved starting from planning, design, construction, quality control, performance monitoring, and also bringing out a best practice guidelines. Student internship programs can be encouraged, and we should also treat the new masses through the NGO. And lastly, community participation in the quality control is also the need of the hour. I also request the concern to look at the Janagraha organization at Bangalore, wherein public are also participating in the quality control. Skill development is possible through the National Skill Development Corporation. I think job creation through MSME in terms of Kair Vikas Yojana, Mahila Kair Yojana, waste plastic industries, jute textile industries, manufacture of bio oils like maho oil, Bangami oil, and Padanga oil, which can be used for rejuvenation of the old oxidized bituminous layer, which also enable us to adopt recycling in a very large scale. I think full depth reclamation and recycling will be the need of the hour when the aggregates are not available. So thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you, Professor Veeraraghavan. Thank you for your illuminating presentation. Now I will request Shri Manoj Kumar Singh ji, ACS Rural Development, Government of UP, to give his presentation. Unmute, Kalin. Unmute. Unmute हो गए? So we are not able to hear you. Telephone handset का click करके सर उसमें please enable the microphone and then unmute. There is a handset icon. Yes. Yes. Your mic is on. Sir, your mic is not enabled as yet. Please click your handset button, this center button, and then enable microphone and then unmute. Yes, now please unmute. Yes. Not able to hear you. हाँ ये
आवाज आ रही है अब?
हाँ अब आ रही है सर. Please go ahead.
Sorry for this trouble. नमस्कार, मैं फुल डेप्थ रिक्लेमेशन के बारे में बात करूंगा, जो एक नई टेक्नोलॉजी है और ग्रीन टेक्नोलॉजी है रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए. और यूपी में पहली बार इतने बड़े स्केल पर इस काम को किया जा रहा है. जैसा कि नाम सजेस्ट करता है फुल डेप्थ रिक्लेमेशन, इसमें हम लोग जो एग्जिस्टिंग क्रेस्ट का मटेरियल है, एग्रीगेट बिटुमिनस मटेरियल अलॉन्ग विद सम सॉइल जो सब बेस का होता है, उसको यूज करते हुए सड़क को बनाते हैं. और इसका सबसे बड़ा एडवांटेज ये है कि नए एग्रीगेट की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है. और आप सब जानते हैं कि नए एग्रीगेट के साथ क्या क्या एनवायरमेंटल इश्यूज और इकोनॉमिक इश्यूज उसके ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के साथ और माइनिंग के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. अगले स्लाइड पे आइए. ये एक जिस्ट है जो पीएमजीएसवाई का यूपी में इम्प्लीमेंटेशन दिखाता है। लगभग 50,000 किलोमीटर सड़कें यूपी में बनी है पीएमजीएसवाई के तहत, और सभी हैबिटेशंस जो एलिजिबल हैं इस स्कीम के अंदर उनको 100% कनेक्टिविटी उपलब्ध कराया जा चुका है अभी तक। नेक्स्ट, ये एक पिक्टोरियल रिप्रेजेंटेशन है, आप सब इससे वाकिफ होंगे, ज्यादातर लोग जो इस वेबिनार में भाग ले रहे हैं। अगले पॉइंट पर पहले हम लोग इसमें देख लेते हैं कि क्रेस्ट का क्या थिकनेस है। एज वी नो कि रूरल रोड्स में जनरली 17.5 to 25 सेंटीमीटर के आसपास क्रेस्ट थिकनेस होती है। इस फुल डेप्थ रिक्लेमेशन में हम लोग 30 सेंटीमीटर तक का अभी जो काम कर रहे हैं वो उसमें यूज कर रहे हैं क्रेस्ट को और सब बेस के लेवल को। ये रिक्लेमर सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट इक्विपमेंट है इस पूरे प्रोसेस को ड्राइव करने के लिए। और रूरल रोड में जो एक सबसे बड़ा इशू क्वालिटी का आता है वो लैक ऑफ
डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया क्या है? I think he's got disconnected. Disconnected? So, I will request Mr. Srinivas, who is the CEO of Vishwasamudram Engineering, to make a very short presentation. He need not explain what FDR is, just present a private industry point of view as to how we can adopt new technology.
Good afternoon, Secretary Sir, Additional Secretary Sir, and distinguished guests. My name is Srinivas and I'm from Vishwasamudram Engineering. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today on green technologies for construction of roads and the benefits of using the same. The quote you see here is very apt in today's topic. Honorable Prime Minister of India very pointedly said, importance of roads for a nation is the same as importance of arteries and veins in the human body. So, so very apt for today's topic of leaving no citizen behind. So the government is very keen on connecting rural roads all all over the country in different parts. I'll quickly play a small video. Showing the effects of environment, construction, environment, change of mining activities.
Yes, please continue. Yes, Mr. Srinivas, please
Yeah.
continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So, what is the importance of rural road connectivity? So, we know approximately 45 lakh kilometers of roads have to be connected, or in the stage of connection. So, why is it so important? So, basically, to improve the healthcare, the employment, the education and living standards of rural population in India. So, what is the importance of using green technologies? Reduction in usage of aggregates, thereby reducing carbon footprints. So we've clearly saved almost 85% of aggregates during construction of roads using full depth recycling or soil stabilization. Usage of modern equipment for faster completion of projects. The entire process of construction is mechanized. And the reduction in construction time is almost 1/3. It takes about 7 days to complete 1 lane kilometer, which includes the laying of asphalt. Higher unconfined strength and higher modulus. On average, we've achieved an MPA of 7 and average modulus of more than 7,000 in all the roads that we've done so far. Increase in durability resulting in very minimal life cycle cost. Almost nil cost over the last 5 years that we've done. And we've done almost 400 kilometers of roads, and there's no rutting or no potholes that we observed so far. Lower cost of construction. We're looking at around 5 to 15%, depending on the soils, traffic, etc. Now, this does not include the life cycle cost, and that will obviously increase because of no repairs and so. So, and this technology can be worked in varied climatic zones in India. And I'm talking about very harsh climatic zones like Andaman, Leh, Ladakh, and Northeast states. Prominent technologies, Dr. Viragan already spoke about it. Now, soil stabilization is nothing new. It's been used over the last 20, 30 years all over Europe. It's gained prominence in India over the last 5, 6 years because of good equipment now being available. And predominantly we are focusing on FDR, where we rehabilitate existing pavements and up to a depth of about 200 to 300 mm. There are already existing codes. RC SP 89 Part 2 2018 talks about sterilization, and SP 70 2015 specifically on rural road. A lot of institutes have monitored the new technologies and are monitoring still, primarily CRRI and all the Indian Institute of Technologies and IITR as well. What are the ecological benefits of sterilization, since we're talking? So I can speak for myself. We've done almost 400 lane kilometers, and I can say we've saved almost 420,000 cubic meters of aggregates, which translates to around 30,000 trucks, and translates again to 3 lakh liters of saving of diesel. So we're talking about carbon emission savings of 7,300 tons of O2, which is substantial, and I'm only talking about here. And we've done almost all the players in India. I think we crossed around 2,000 lane kilometers or more. So it's a substantial saving, and it will only increase with states like UP, Bihar, and other states probably going for these technologies. So this is the process of sterilization. Again, entire thing is mechanized. The cement, the additive, recycling, everything is mechanized. So it's a very homogeneous, and you get very good quality. And so there's hardly any human element involved. So like I said, we can allow traffic within a few hours, within 3-4 hours, especially in rural setting where the width of the road is only 3.75 or 4 meters. So it's very easy. We can allow traffic to go within a few hours, and within 7 days we can have a layer of asphalt on top. So this is a typical cross section of rural roads. I mean, one area that I've seen. So it can be anywhere between 200 to 300 existing layer. It could be WMM, it could be WBC, whatever. So stabilization we do up to a depth of 250, which I feel is more than enough for a rural road because the traffic is not that much. So we go up to a depth of 250 and then go for a layer of BC on top. So if you see a very, very prominent, which I want to share, is the quality that we're getting, or the strength that we are achieving using stabilization or full depth recycling. So the top layer is the same. BT is the Empire you get is 750 to 3000. The granular base is where there's a huge difference between a conventional and a stabilized base. So if you see, we typically use WMM or GSP, and then we get modulus of around 500. Whereas we're getting anything between 4,000 to 10,000 modulus for a stabilized base. That's a huge difference. So, the road will last much longer, and I'm very confident the stabilized base will last more than 15 to 20 years. And I'm not talking hearsay. This is being tested by FWD method, and it gives a very clear picture that these are all, very high quality and perpetual payments. Again, similar to what I just showed you, the falling weight deflectometer test very clearly shows that we're achieving very high modulus. And this is segment-wise, infrastructure, airports. We've done city roads, national highways. I've given you a synopsis of what is the minimum requirement of UCS strength versus what we have achieved, and versus the modulus as well. 900 is required. We've achieved close to 7,000, 10,000. So this should, and also the savings in aggregates. There are a lot of players in stabilization now in India over the last 4 years, and it's increasing. There are a lot of additive suppliers, additive players, Stable Roads, IDEX, RVA81, Base Seal, Geocrete, ANT, Roadstab are prominent players. Then we have equipment suppliers. Of course, Vatgan has been in India for a long time. They're the pioneers. They have good service. HAM. BOMAG has just entered India, and they're also improving their service and partnerships. Stir is a German company as well. Then you have Caterpillar, of course, not yet in India, and Sakai, Japanese company, not yet in India. But I'm sure we'll see more with a huge amount of FDR coming into the country. I'll skip this video. And again, soil sterilization we've done in a number of states. Andhra Pradesh, I have to thank Andhra Pradesh Panchayat Raj Department for giving us the opportunity to do stabilization about 3 years back, and that's how it started. And a lot of states have come and seen the work going on in AP, and that's how it took off. Telangana, Maharashtra, Bihar, Arunachal Pradesh, UP, of course, Punjab, Andaman and Nicobar, very, very good results with soil stabilization with the amount of rainfall. Leh Ladakh, some of my colleagues have done there for BRO, and they've got very good results. This technology, like I said, can be used, has been used in a lot of places, in ports, in airports, city roads, national highways, state highways, rural roads. Rural roads, again, I'll concentrate a little more on that, show you a few pictures because that's a topic. This is the full depth in situ recycling going on. Again, cement spreading, additive spreading, recycling, initial compaction. These are some pictures of rural connectivity roads using soil stabilization. This is in Andhra Pradesh. It gives me goosebumps when I go there, and people are so happy that the road is very strong, and it's been 2.5 years in some cases. It feels nice to interact with them and then get a feel of it. We also used cement with stabilization. The base layer is stabilized. On top, we've used M30 with 170 mm thickness. Again, both have been performing very good. Again, very high. If you see the core on the right, very good, and used in very high, dense, and very heavy traffic. The icing on the cake, sir, is we've done the runway for GMR International Airport. This is the main runway, and it's been used for the last 7 months. Absolutely no problem. These are some pictures in Leh Ladakh, which my colleague shared. So this is before and after. Before and after, if you see the sea change, and you just imagine that people are benefited by having good roads. It's really amazing. These are some pictures, sir. I wanted to show you how even in adverse conditions, the pavements have been performing. This is in Bihar, in North Bihar, very close to the border of Nepal. We have done a road, and during rainy season, this entire area gets flooded, and water is stagnant for almost a week, 10 days. And if you see the pictures, it has survived even after all this. There is no damage at all. Another picture I wanted to share is this upgrade in certain areas. Last year, heavy rains, the subgrade got washed off, but the top pavement is still intact. So that should give you an idea of how hard the surface is, how strong the surface is. Finally, this picture also, the embankment in one particular road, but if you see the road is still intact and it hasn't broken. Again, sir, thank you very much for the opportunity, and we are here as a team among, we have a number of players now, and we'll only give you good roads and good long-lasting roads. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivas, for your illuminating presentation and presenting the FDR to our audience. I will now invite Shri Himanshu Agrawal from Zytex to give the private industry perspective in very brief. Since we are running behind time, I would request the speakers to take only 2 minutes, not more than 2-3 minutes, please. Shri Himanshu Agrawal ji.
Good afternoon, sir, and everybody in this webinar. Zytex has worked from 2013 with PMGSY and have been involved in the initial phase of execution of the stabilization roads. Over the last 8 years, what I have observed, we have used multiple technologies, as Dr. Veeraraghavan has mentioned. I would think the result has been, I think 90 to 95% of the roads using technology have survived and seen over time that they have this process. With a 20-year design life, even if there is an increase in the cost of capex by 5 to 20%, because as we construct the 7 lakh kilometers, we need to really look at that this will come for reconstruction at some point of time. So whatever we do today, a 20-year lifespan would definitely be called for, even if it means that there is an increase in the cost. Could we have a vision of 0 fatalities and 0 potholes? If we mention that, then what we will end up doing is to engage the PIU stakeholders as well as contractors to do a better job. Along with the lowest cost, if we can increase and bring the aspect of giving certain weightage on the longer life, that would be interesting. In a country like Poland, what they do is they give preference to contractors who give higher life, because that means it certifies durability. Can we do something on the strengthening of the quality control and quality assurance system? To what comes to my mind, I think taking from where Mr. Srinivas had, we should bring in non-destructive techniques, because when we bring in stabilization using chemicals, coupled with the mechanical machine equipments which give good compaction, we should bring in non-destructive testing of LWD and FWD as against cutting of course. A 12-cycle durability test, if brought in, would definitely certify to the life of 20 years. Rainfall being one of the major concerns for bringing potholes, as was mentioned in the morning by the Honorable Prime Minister. If we can increase the defect liability period of the bituminous layers for resurfacing from 5 years to mandatory 7 years, I think the users will have recourse to using materials which are available for making a higher life of the bituminous layers, because bitumen can survive for 15 to 20 years. The question is, can we strengthen the spec? One of the most important things which Professor Veeraraghavan said, and I'll again reiterate, while the mainstreaming of technologies has been done, which are generic in nature, it would also make sense to look at technologies which have been used in more than 20 states, which are from the chemical perspective, to be mainstream if they are found to be useful to the whole system, because then we should be ready to incorporate that and fast track that. Last but not the least, sir, I personally feel that with a large widespread country like India, which has different variations of terrain, weather, materials, etc., it would be very, very important if we can have state-of-the-art labs or centers of excellence set up within the IITs or greenfield where 200 to 400 engineers can work and work 24/7, 365 days a year to have more durable roads. If we can do that, that will be great. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Agrawal sir. I will now invite Professor G.J. Joshi from SVNIT Surat to present a perspective from academicians' point of view as to how we can improve the adoption of new technologies. Dr. G.J. Joshi. There.
Very good afternoon to one and all. We at State of Gujarat, we have adopted certain technologies in last 5 years, like use of copper slag, fly ash and lime, granulated blast furnace slag, particularly in the lower layers of subgrade and subbase on selected rural road sections in South Gujarat region. The soil strata in the region is relatively on the black cotton side, and therefore this technology has tremendously helped us in improving not only the performance of the pavement, but that the initial stage itself, the depth also could be controlled. The design of these pavements were carried out as per IRC, and the performance evaluation at every stage of this pavement was also conducted by us. We have observed that this improvement has enhanced the stability of subgrade and subbase layers, and the performance of the pavement has also improved in terms of better surface condition. Overall, this has improved the traffic operations, riding quality, and also prolonged the maintenance schedule, resulting into reduced cost of maintenance. Another technology which we had applied is shredded waste plastic in surface course. The treatment was semi-dense bituminous concrete. It was used for road sections in district of Surat, and we have observed that it has enhanced the rutting resistance as well as has improved the imperviousness of the pavement surface, resulting into its better performance in general. We believe that these initiatives at Gujarat are contributing a bit towards attainment of targets of sustainable development goals. And we have a very strong team, and we are ready to take up similar activities in future also. Of course, there is a minimum length requirement for new technologies is 15%, but I believe if it is enhanced to 40 to 50% over a period of time, it will contribute in a significant manner so as to reduce the effect of developmental activities on environment. Thank you.
फिर और ये ऑडियो कहाँ चला गया? उनका हो गया? सिस्टम जो है से कॉल करके बोलते हैं तुपे जी को बोल दीजिए, शुरू कर दें।
यस सर गुड आफ्टरनून सर, आवाज आ रही है सर?
हाँ प्लीज स्टार्ट डॉक्टर तुबे। आई विल नाउ रिक्वेस्ट डॉक्टर तुबे to he is secretary PWD in the government of Maharashtra, so kindly
sir good afternoon to all sir. Since the inception of PMGSY scheme in 2000, the use of new technology and green technology has been initiated in all over the country, in various states, among all the field officers, because there were no IRC code available, so they were quite reluctant to use of this technology. But since the use of this tripartite agreement and clear-cut responsibility of NRIDA, the supplier, and the state government, it has become very easy, and it gives confidence to all field engineers to use of this new technology. Sir, since its continuous use, few new technologies, the material has been accredited by IRC, and now it is in codal format, and new material are also again and coming. So its use are already initiated by NRIDA.
Sir, on the basis of this, in Maharashtra also, we started this CMJSY on the basis of PMJSY, and in the same scheme, around 20% road length, we have decided to put for this R&D and new technology works, and we will follow up the similar guidelines of PMJSY for use of this new technology material. So only last thing I want to mention, as mentioned by Professor Birakon sir, this self-use booklet, if it is made available to all field engineers, it will give a lot of confidence to all our field engineers, and it will be something, it will be appropriate places what technology has been used. Sir, this booklet should be available on website. So that is only my request. So I think, sir, field engineers are quite now encouraged to use of this green technology due to clear-cut responsibilities, defining clear-cut responsibility, and NRIDA, and it's really made a good work in this regard. That is only whatever I want to say, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Thube. As you suggested, all this material on uses of new technology will be available on the websites also, and we will be circulating all these documents to all the states and all the stakeholders, which will be a free kind of a literature which can be shared with everyone. Now, I will request Sri Nitin Manawat, if he is available, to kindly give his views. He is director of VVASPL technology based SEAL, and is also an implementer in the field. So kindly give your views.
Thank you so much, sir. Good afternoon to the respected and distinguished gathering in this webinar to deliberate on use of new technologies in road and Infoway to all rural habitations for leaving no citizens behind. I am one of the new technology providers and executioner contractor to stabilize the in situ soil and have constructed a couple of 100 kilometers of rural habitats by new technology. In Hindi, we call it Mati Sthirikaran. That is, you change the properties of soil such that it does not move due to surface and subsurface water. When the base of road becomes stable, the roads will have minimal or no damages. This technology is good for rural roads, major district roads, states, and national highways. Any road which is constructed in rural habitat, which has got, okay, I would like to say, any roads which is constructed in rural habitat, which has got no roads for a longer time, for ages, have very high expectations from the government and contractors to do two things. One, provide a durable road, and B, complete the road in shortest time, because that mud road trail, which they have been using as a lifeline for ages, if it gets obstructed by the construction material, their livelihood gets seriously affected. The soil stabilization technology I am referring attends both the above requirements. It does not require aggregates for base construction, which reduces cutting of hills for stones and saves the environment. The technology constructs a new road or reclaims old damaged road by treating on the spot soil with environment-friendly chemical and that makes it long-lasting.
May I intervene? I would request you to
more than 2 minutes.
Give the challenges that you face in adopting new technology in the field. Though,
Fine, sir. So coming to that, for leaving no citizens behind and for the successful use of technologies, there are 4 specific recommendations I have. And these are, for stronger partnership of government and private sector, we need to have several workshops, more interactions, such that interpretations of policies, Indian road standards, quality parameters, and understanding of the technology remains unified. There's too much of difference in opinion and interpretations as of now. Second, we need to have fewer but higher benchmarking for qualification and selection of technologies to avoid bad experiences given by fly-by-night operators. There are many people coming with some sort of powder mixtures, so that needs to be stopped. 3, for execution of work, tenders should be for larger clusters of rural habitat roads, so that larger volume of work allows deployment of specialized machines, qualified engineers to execute the work for durability. 4th, and the last one, when roads are constructed by investing more than 10 crores in one set of equipment, then the acceptance quality testing should be upgraded by using objective equipment like deflectometers and density meters rather than older methods for conventional instance. These are the 4 specific recommendations I have, sir. And I appreciate the work which PMGSY has done in this sector. And with this, I would sum up that there may be a few slip-ups, but with necessary analysis, learning from the issues and capacity building and wider adoption would pave the way for future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin Manawaji. Thank you for giving your recommendations. We are really looking for this kind of feedback from private sector. Due to paucity of time, now I will invite our last speaker, Shri Sudhakar Shetty, Murori Construction, Bangalore. Mr. Shetty. Mr. Shetty is a private contractor working in PMGSY. Okay, now he's not there, so I will invite Mr. Sudhakar Shetty is there. Yes, Mr. Sudhakar Shetty, we will request you to kindly give the contractor's perspective as to what are the challenges in adopting new technology and what are your recommendations regarding that.
Now, Mr. Shetty, I think you will have to select the right microphone. So please click on the handset button in the bottom of your screen and select the correct microphone. Now enable your microphone, please. Unmute yourself.
Okay, sir.
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Sir, I am representing Mr. Sudhakar Shetty. We are the contractor here in Mangalore. We are executing the PMGSY roads since last 20 years, sir. We have done around 250 kilometers of roads. In Mangalore, Dakshin Kannada area, we have executed concrete roads with honeycombed PVC plastic, honeycombed plastic to PVC material, which has been recycled. And we found that it is working quite good, giving good performance since last 5 years. It's working good, sir. And also we have used the coal tar also. And it is being used in various roads of our PMGSY construction, and it is giving a good performance, sir. As far as monsoon areas are concerned, cold bitumen has been used. It's a very good technology, sir, and it is giving good results, sir, here in Dakshin Kannada.
We'll take one more speaker. Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you, Mr. Shetty. Now I will invite Mr. Sanjay Bajaj from Virgin. So I would request you to kindly give the private industry perspective. Mr. Sanjay Bajaj.
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'll be very quick. So I represent the equipment fraternity. And definitely, we have seen now with the development in FDS sector in rural roads, there have been a lot of activity. It has become imperative to use special purpose recycler or soil stabilization equipment. Having said that, that has completely changed the game at ground level, where PMGSY contractors are asking now about equipments. So this is facing 3 challenges. One is because this set of equipments cost almost 8 to 10 crores, and these small contractors who have a balance sheet of 8 to 10 crores cannot afford to buy these machines. So we look at a space. Where we can, give them big contracts so that they can go for the funding of this. B, machine availability has been a challenge because all of a sudden there has been demand in the market from the rural roads sector. So our request could be, if we know what projects, when they're coming, we can plan for these machines. See what we've done in India also, sir. We have also now shifted for certain equipments make in India. this 20-ton roller was made mandatory, but this now we are coming with the 15-ton roller made in India, which works as same performance as of 20-ton rollers, but also is almost 1/3 the cost of this big roller. So we are trying this out in UP FDR so that it's easier for the contractors to own and use the equipment. Fourth, I would say, has been a skill set, which is big challenge we feel, because these contractors who are small contractors don't have this infrastructure or the space. So now what we have done in the industry is we are training the operators manpower on maintenance, operation, and doing it right. So industry, I would say, that has upgrade themselves. We have tied up in-house training schools. So I can assure you, sir, that on the behalf of industry, we'll support your endeavor in terms of machine deliveries at right time, at right price, with right application know-how. So yeah, that's from our side, from the industry, sir. Thank you very much for your initiative and this opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bajaj, for your inputs. Due to paucity of time, we will pause here, and I apologize to rest of the stakeholders that they have not been able to intervene here. But rest assured, we will listen to you, and we are listening to you, and we will hold more such webinars with all our stakeholders and continue our dialogue with you to engage more with you so that we can increase the intensity of technology in PMGSY roads. Overall, we have had presentations from Professor Veera Raghavan from IIT Chennai and Mr. Srinivas from private sector, short presentation from ACS UP, and then interventions by private industry, academics, as well as government officers. So the main challenges in new technology is one of the inputs that we have got. There are differences in opinion and interpretation as to which kind of technologies can be adopted and what are the standards that should be made applicable. Another very good suggestion is that the design life of roads should be increased from 10 years to 20 years so that people are encouraged to use newer technologies and more mechanization in construction of roads. Then another suggestion was that fast tracking of new and emerging technology should be there from bodies such as Indian Roads Congress, and then there should be higher specifications in terms of assessment criteria for eligibility of contractors, so that only quality contractors come in, and there should be larger packages, introduction of EPC mode in contracting, and mechanical machine-based quality assurance system. So these are some of the suggestions that have come up during the course of this webinar, and our strategy going forward would be to engage more with our stakeholders. We will hold more workshops as you have suggested, and we will be coming out with this do-it-yourself booklets on 15 subjects very soon, and we will be circulating it on our websites as well as to our all our stakeholders. So I would thank all the stakeholders, all the participants, and especially the speakers and those who have intervened here, and they have taken out their valuable time from their busy schedules and have offered their valuable suggestions in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashish. So it's my turn to give a conclusion to the session by highlighting some of the key points that the Honorable Prime Minister and some of the stakeholders have made here. So, some of the key takeaways from the morning session chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister was saturation of facilities in villages. So that is a very, very important target that he has set for us, especially in aspirational districts. So we would expect that both Bharatnet related connectivity to households as well as road connectivity and all those facilities, which are being proposed or under implementation, needs to be taken to the saturation point where every village is connected and every household is touched by these facilities. The second point that he made was 100% achievement in all these or saturation is possible only if you adopt new technology. I think it's a very, very valid point. And more so valid, especially in a telecom in the telecom sector where technology plays a very critical role. So we in the telecom department are very keenly focused on inducting new technologies. In fact, there are proposals which are pending before the Universal Service Obligation Fund for induction of new technologies such as free space optics, which has been a point of suggestion made by one of our speakers, point-to-point link using E-band, and also point-to-point links from say Gram Panchayat to villages, basically short-haul links using delicensed bands such as 5.8 gigahertz and so on and so forth. So we will be very happy to support induction of new technologies in this manner. Similarly, experimental licensing and also use of technologies for research and use of and development of technologies using the 5% USOF fund is something also which we would be working on in the near future to comply with the Honorable Prime Minister's directions. The other point that he made was on convergence between all stakeholders. So this is a very, very important point, even in the context of Bharatnet, and also in the case of, say, road connectivity, etc. All stakeholders must work together with the same agenda. That is very, very important. So we would expect that every one of the stakeholders, especially in Bharatnet, including fiber owners such as the DISCOMs, fiber owners such as RailTel, PGCIL, TSPs, Bharatnet, all of us should work together to actually connect our, interlink our networks so that every village remains connected and in the cheapest possible manner so that we are able to roll out services at the lowest possible cost. So convergence will bring in cost efficiencies, convergence will bring in technology efficiencies and so on and so forth. The other 2 points he made was outcome focus. We may do so many things at the end of the day, but if it does not touch the lives of the common man, I think all these efforts are fruitless. So that is a point Honorable Prime Minister made, and therefore we should actually have a very strong output focus in every one of our programs, whether the desired service is being rendered to the desired quality to the household concerned. I think that must be our focus. And the last point that he made was obviously creating competition between villages, between taluks, between districts, and so on and so forth. So I think in our program designs, creating competitions by fostering innovation is something that all of us must work towards. And I am sure that in the near future, I think we will have all these competitions where I think this can be done. And just to summarize some of the points made by some of our other stakeholders, that is Mr. Gopal Vittal talked about using backhaul frequency, wireless frequencies for backhaul, which includes ENV band and so on and so forth. I think this is a very, very important point. Sorting out ROW issues. This is something which we are engaged with deeply. We are launching an right-of-way portal shortly to ensure that timely ROW clearances are given by authorities, including local bodies or by national infrastructure agencies and so on and so forth for optic fiber connectivity. The other point Mr. Vittal made was regarding need for high levels of service level availability in the Bharatnet, for which I think there is a very important need to enable high quality O&M operations and maintenance of the network. So we are working on that, and we hope to contract with high quality and with firms with experience to ensure that the maintenance of the Bharatnet is of the highest order and with the highest possible availability, not less than about 97-98%. The other point which he made was regarding green power and power availability. So these are very important points, and I am sure that in this futuristic programs, green power induction into the telecom networks is a very, very important requirement, and we will work towards that. Mr. Purwar, CMD of BSNL, made a number of other points, which includes technology agnostic approach, which certainly is a very important thing. Relook at the taxation and the fee structure and the levy structure on the telecom sector, very valid point. And affordable pricing of FTTH. This is something very, very important. He also touched on the issue of content development targeted at rural areas, which is very, very critical to enable the use of broadband networks effectively by the rural citizens. Mr. Manoj Changani also dwelt on the issue of need for relooking at the license fee structure of internet services, which is a very, very important point. And also, he also pointed out the need for enabling LCOs also to be registered on the ROW portal to enable them also to get the use of right-of-way. Mr. Rajesh Charia pointed out to the need to the important task he is performing of connecting all the ISPs to Bharatnet, which I think is very commendable. I really strongly appreciate the comments he made, and also the point that he made on collectively working towards 1 crore broadband connections by end of 2023, which is certainly something which is praiseworthy, and we will strongly support you in this endeavor, and we will take into account all the policy-related suggestions that you have given during this meeting. Mr. Rakesh Mehta also pointed out about the need for adopting certain good best practices from programs like the Lifeline program of the US FCC. We will certainly be happy to do that, and USOF will be organizing, just like the road sector, I think a national and an international conference on technology for Bharatnet and rural connectivity in sometime in the middle of this year, regarding which I think announcements will be made shortly. This will definitely help us to actually learn from international best practice and also induct some of these ideas into our policies and also programs. The other program, the point that was made by from a number of users, a number of ISPs who have logged into our YouTube channel as well, including things like, say, timely payments of the revenue share for FTTH vendors, spectrum leasing on easy terms, and providing utility corridor along rural roads. These are all very important points which our YouTube participants had provided. We will be very happy to look into it, and we will certainly be working on it. There was also a few points relating to AGR related issues, apathy from the MNOs in connecting to the VNOs, which is also key inputs which I have received, which we'll be working on. Mr. Rajat Mukherjee pointed out the need for induction of satellite communication technologies, especially the LEO-MEO broadband connectivity, which I think is very, very valid for remote and mountainous terrain. We shall be taking that into account while planning the expansion of the Bharatnet and coverage towards the 6 lakh villages. I will therefore end by thanking all the participants from the road sector as well as from the from the Bharatnet and internet connectivity sectors. So thank you all of you. We look forward to active interaction with you and collaboration and partnerships with all of you in the near term and in the coming months. Thank you all, Manathi. With this, we end the breakout session.
Thank you.